All right. Good morning. Maybe I should turn on the camera, huh, Jen? All right. So there we go. Boy,
Happy Monday.
Yeah, happy Monday after travels and gosh, it's just life is so consuming. Nonetheless, welcome everyone to another episode of How I Met Your Mortgage. Um, as always, I'm your host Adam Smith with Just the Tips Coaching. With us pretty much as always, and straight from the dentist's chair is our marketing director and one of our other coaches, Jen Wayboer. Hi, Jen.
Hello.
How you feeling? You okay there?
I'm surviving.
All right.
Yeah,
and we've
surviving.
Okay. And we've got a really cool guest for you guys today. I would like to give you guys a big welcome for Jacob Mueller. Jacob, welcome.
Hey, thanks. It's great to be here. Thanks, guys.
Oh yeah, I know. We've been looking forward to this. Well, gosh, for probably about a year or so. Yeah. We're popular. We're booked out quite a ways. I think August of 22. Jen told me last week. It might be further along than that by now, but. Okay, so Jacob, I know we didn't have a whole lot of time to chat before we started broadcasting. And, you know, it's live. It's supposed to be a little impromptu. We're supposed to share our little technological issues with everybody as we go along. But I wanted to give you a little bit of background, obviously, after a year of waiting to do this with you. And we probably did a year plus of vetting before we invited you or asked you to come be on the podcast. So we've done a lot of background, a lot of legwork. But typically what we do here is get a little background from you, how you got started, why you got started, what in the world would drive somebody to get into this business, and then get a little bit of feedback about what your client base looks like, what your team looks like, basically just how your business runs. So Just the Tips focuses pretty heavily on lead generation and team structure. The idea, of course, is for each and every one of our clients to eventually be able to build a repeat and referral business, a strict repeat and referral business, and be able to eventually have that business pay them while they step away from it. So that's kind of the goal within our program. So we'll kind of fill some of those gaps with you and how you do things and what makes you unique to your business, your market, so on and so forth. Let's start there. Give us a little bit of background on Jacob. What possessed you to get into real estate? How did that all begin?
Yeah, that's a great question, Adam. I actually have a good story about this from when I was growing up. I was a teenager in high school, and I grew up kind of managing one of my dad's investment properties. It was like an 8-plex or 10-plex. I can't remember what it was, but it was, you know, rough part of town, rough clientele. It was an eye-opening experience. I'm out there slaving away, mowing the grass in 90-degree weather and on the roof, picking up leaves on this flat top black roof. Oh, it was horrible. I remember as a teenager. Yeah, I remember as a teenager being like, I am never going to own rental real estate. I'm never going to do this. I'm never, not ever.
Ever.
And lo and behold, a decade later, I'm the exact same person, and I own a bunch of rental properties, and I help other people do the same thing. So that's how I got into this business.
I guess we're glad you're not the one on the black tar roof taking care of the leaves.
That's right. I no longer do that. That's correct. I can pay people to do that, thankfully. So anyway, that's how I got into real estate. I've kind of grown up around it, kind of orbited it. I never really got super involved up until recently. Only about 3 years ago, I started my real estate career professionally. And it kind of was this thing in my life that was always a part of it, but never like the focus until recently. And then I decided, you know what, I'm going to do this full time. It's going to be my gig.
It's a cool gig.
It's great. I love it, actually.
I've got to be honest. Our vetting process typically only looks, especially when we're talking about somebody local, somebody in Colorado, where we're pretty particular about seeing somebody that does some serious business, that handles a lot of clients. And for you to have only been doing this on this level for a few years is pretty damn impressive.
Yeah, thanks, Adam. I really appreciate it. I really can't take credit for it. I got really lucky. I jumped in with a great firm called Atlas Real Estate. It's an investment-focused brokerage out of Denver, but I run a Colorado Springs office. And just, man, talk about drinking from a fire hose, man. I learned so much so quickly. We just went off the deep end, and yeah, you're right. My business is just booming. It's crazy.
That's fantastic. All right, so when that started, so we're not flashbacking all that far, just a few years. What did that look like? Where were your clients coming from? What were you doing to generate buyers and sellers?
Yeah, no, I have to take a step back even before that to tell another story of how I even got involved with this real estate, because it's kind of funny, and it kind of actually pertains to how I run my business and how I self-start. So when I first got into real estate professionally, I was actually working for a commercial real estate brokerage as a leasing agent. So I was helping businesses like White Pie or Dos Santos or any kind of business. I just named some F&Bs, but I'd help them find a space to lease. That was my job. I did that for about 4 months. I was cold calling every day, 4 hours a day. It was brutal, but I got some really valuable experience. And one of the things I was doing, not only was I cold calling every day, I was on Meetup.com. I was on Facebook. I was finding all these groups of investors, people who might own strip centers or properties where somebody like a Dos Santos or a restaurant would want to lease. And I would try to go to these Meetup groups of these investors. One of these Meetup groups I happened to go to was run by my current boss, Mike Hills, in the basement of this big office building. It was in the basement, no windows, nothing. I show up and there's a room of 30 people. And the guy in the front of the room is wearing a t-shirt and flip-flops talking about real estate investing. And I was thinking,
that might be me.
Here I am. Yeah, I was thinking, here I am.
Adam?
Yeah.
Jen Duplessis would think so.
This is perfect. And a Hawaiian shirt, hopefully. So anyway, I show up thinking I'm going to find all these real estate investors who have a bunch of property. I'm going to be their leasing agent, whatever. And my boss is up there and he's talking about real estate in a way that I hadn't heard a residential broker talk about it, because he was talking about, residential properties, so houses, 1 to 4 units. He wasn't really talking about strip centers or other commercial real estate, just kind of residential real estate. And here I am showing up trying to poke holes in his argument, because that's just the kind of person I am, trying to understand how his method works. And then I ended up working for him about 3 weeks later, because I was like, wow, this guy's got a great system.
That's
so
fantastic.
Yeah, that's how I got started. And I will say the reason I tell this story, Adam, is because there are a few of those things that actually have carried over into my business and how I continue to grow it organically.
Okay.
And those things are obviously reaching out to people who are interested in investing in real estate, finding them wherever they may be, on whichever platform they may be on, and then meeting with them in person locally.
Okay. Well, no shortage of that. We constantly comment on how everybody you meet either owns real estate, wants to, or knows someone who does.
Correct. Yep, that's exactly right.
But boy,
you're
Meetup, I haven't heard about Meetup in years. It really was a great tool. Are you still using it?
That's a great question, Adam. I haven't recently, but we kind of shifted during COVID-19. We kind of shifted to online webinars. But to be honest, I found those weren't very effective for how I do my business. And so I just kind of stopped. And I haven't gone back to in-person meetings yet, although I do plan to do that once I need to start rebuilding my funnel. But that hasn't happened yet. So
That may never happen.
You never know.
I mean, really, and for those of you listening or watching live, or I guess in the syndication, or listening to the podcast, that what we're all doing here, pretty much every guest on our show, my businesses, it's if you continue to do the things that do, make your shifts. Obviously, we've all had to do that in light of the pandemic. But you continue to be constant and consistent in what you're doing in your work and your lead generation, etc. It snowballs. It just continues to grow. Slow, steady growth, whatever the case may be. And I'd be surprised if that isn't the same for you.
No, that's exactly right, Adam. That snowball analogy, I know people use it a lot and it's become a cliche, but it's very true. I mean, it's very true. Not only from my personal business as a real estate broker, but even in my personal investing as well. It's just amazing how it all snowballs and all the things that you do.
Yeah, very, very true. Yeah, no question about that. Again, if you do the work.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, you have to be consistent. Yeah.
And unfortunately, I think a lot of people get into your line of work, into my line of work, not necessarily the coaching aspect, but I own a mortgage brokerage as well and have for getting on 20 years. A lot of people think that you know, it's easy. Man, new real estate agents, you know, in droves. Oh, I'm going to make a ton of money, and my schedule's going to be flexible, and I'm going to hang out with my kids, and I'm going to take all these selfies by the pool, and then I'm going to take selfies by the pool of the house I'm selling, you know, and it doesn't work that way. So I know you're groaning and sighing, but you know this is true.
Yeah.
Right?
You know, it is. It is. I think I gave Jen a heart attack when I told her I don't use social media at all.
Yeah,
she was like, wait,
did.
what?
Yeah, Jen said to me, what the hell are we going to talk about? And I said, well, we're going to have plenty of things to talk about. But that is really interesting. And I don't know that we come across many people that are doing what you're doing or as successful at it in such a short period and have not really milked their social media platforms. I mean, that's really cool shit. And don't get me wrong, social media is a big deal, and it is one of the tools in the belt that we hand over to our coaching clients, and we focus on it heavily, particularly Facebook, but still a lot of Insta, LinkedIn, Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, on and on. But yeah, to come across somebody who is basically non-existent on social media and still having the kind of success in such a short time frame that you're having, that's rare.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. You're making me sound like I'm the best thing since sliced bread. But I have found that meeting people in person and having conversations one-on-one is way more efficient of a use of time to actually build a business. And there obviously you need to fill your funnel, right? Like we're talking about, I'm sure you talk about funnels all the time with your clients. Like everything is about building pipeline. That's all it is. We're just going to learn how to build pipeline and we're going to apply it to whatever your business is. Build pipeline to success. And I just have found that like personal outreach, whether you message somebody on a platform or you have them show up to one of your presentations because you're providing content or education, but it's in person. Pick up the phone, texting, anything. People love automation, right? They do. And I have found that I don't personally love automation. And for me, and for all of you out there who are seeing your realtor social media posts, they're all automated. So just be aware that like all of that stuff is automated. They're not, you know, or if they're doing Facebook Live, that's not automated, but most of what they're doing is. But I've just found that personal outreach way more targeted. So like I'm seeking a very specific client. I'm not just trying to sell anybody's house, right? I'm not trying to help anybody buy a house. I am very specific in who I'm trying to find, and I'm finding where those people are already meeting, and I'm just messaging them there. That's all I'm doing. Okay,
so that's very niche defined.
It is.
I mean, we're not talking about the same kind of niche that so many agents coming in. I mean, how many agents have been in for 6 months ago? I want to be a luxury broker. How do I be a luxury broker? I want to strictly work luxury. And of course, who doesn't? You know, if I'm doing 100 deals a year if I'm doing 100 deals a year at 400 grand, or I'm doing 100 deals a year at 4 million, then so be it. But this is unique, no question, and really, really smart because, this is a very specific niche, and the people involved in it hang out in very specific places, both offline and on. So, this is really cool stuff. How did you come to this conclusion? Why this niche? I mean, once you identified it, obviously working it backwards was fairly logical. The steps that you're putting in place. Okay, these are the people I want to work with. Where are they? How do I find them? How do I reach them? So on. What kind of content do I provide to them? But how did you decide that this was the niche?
These are all great questions, Adam. I think for me, it had to do with the fact that I was already starting to begin investing in real estate, and I found it fascinating. I loved it. I enjoyed it. And I knew that there were a lot of people out there who needed help doing it. And there are a lot of people out there who need help who don't receive the help that they need because they may not be in a position to buy right away. And if you continue to work with those people and build the relationship over time, again, we're just talking about building that pipeline. Maybe they can't buy this year, this quarter, this 6 months, but maybe they're buying in 2 years. Maybe they're buying in 12 months. You never really know, or you can't really discount people. And lots of times in our business, people are after the fast money. And so they don't nurture the relationships in order to get them to the position where they want to buy it because they don't care, they don't understand. So finding my niche was mostly of like, hey, what do I enjoy? And how can I share this that I do with other people? And I want to speak to something that I think is really important, whether you're going into luxury or investment real estate or whatever you're doing. I think it's super, super important to know your stuff, right? Like realtors want to just jump in. I want to be a luxury broker. Okay, great. Can you tell me about luxury houses that makes them unique? What can you tell me about what your buyers like? What can you tell me about fashion? What can you tell me about the profile of somebody who buys a $2 million house? What do they think like? Are they like keeping up with the Joneses? What circles do they run in? Like what exactly motivates a luxury buyer? And you have to be on top of it. You have to be getting all the luxury magazines. You have to be understanding exactly what your clients are looking for. Otherwise, you're not a credible. Why would I trust you with a $2 million transaction if you don't know what I want and who I am before I even know those things necessarily?
But here you are, a real estate investor turned real estate agent, wanting to help other investors with a market you've already gone knee deep in.
Correct.
Very cool.
Yeah, it's not exactly replicable for a lot of people, but I would say just the credibility thing is huge. You got to know your market and know your niche. Like if you don't know those things, you don't have the credibility, of course people aren't going to just naturally come to you. You have to know your stuff.
I think a big part of what you did is you didn't go after everything. You knew what you wanted and you went after that from the beginning. And that's why you've seen success in 3 years. To go back to the social media point, people don't recognize that they need to take those relationships offline. You've just cut out that kind of middle ground and taken them immediately offline because you knew what you were after and you have a focus and the education behind it. And the success follows that.
Well, and how can somebody who's not an expert in any particular niche provide the kind of content, social media or otherwise, provide the kind of for the greater good of the community content that is necessary to attract those kind of people?
Yes, that's a great question. And the answer is simple, but difficult. Become an expert.
Right. Yeah.
Right. You know, like, so Adam, like we talk about, you know, how quickly I've grown, but you only see the results of all of this work I've been building up to, right? So like, I usually read 50 books a year, right? Like I read a ton because that's the primary way that I learn and grow and can convey my competency to my clients. But I was doing that way before I became a real estate broker. That was just knowledge base, the credibility, the experience. I didn't know I was going to become a real estate broker in the first place. But the point I'm trying to make is that like you have to work really, really hard to become an expert. If you don't know anything about the niche that you want to go into, but you have identified the niche, next step, become an expert.
Learn the niche, right?
That's all there is in crash course. I mean, fast. We're not talking about like learn the niche by doing a couple deals a year, right? Like you're never going to learn the niche that way. No. You're never going to succeed. Yeah, you gotta really dive in.
Yeah, that's really well said. Really well said. And how do I describe this? What you're describing, guys, what Jacob's describing here is a niche real estate career. And a lot of you out there are doing real estate as a job, not as a career, which is why you get 2 deals a year. And why you think giving money to, you know, the big Z is a good idea to get some shitty internet leads. And I mean, the list is obviously lengthy. It goes on and on. But there's a significant mental difference, a significant psychological difference between people who are treating their sales job, whether it's real estate, mortgages, insurance, cars, financial planning, I don't care, treating it as a career versus treating it as a job. And, you know, a job, you're taking them as they come, I think is how you put it. You know, whoever wants to come to you to buy or sell a house, great, I'll take it. And somebody who's mapping out a career the way that you are is obviously treating this in a very, very different manner.
Yeah, I think that's a great distinction. I don't think I've ever parsed it out like that before. I like that. A job versus a career. Yeah, that's good.
Oh, yeah, no question about it, man. This is your career.
Oh, 100%.
And probably ruined you for anything else.
100%. I'm never going back. Yep.
Great. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. And it will pay dividends for the rest of your life because of the respect you give it now. And I unfortunately think a lot of your colleagues, a lot of my brethren, on and on, well, they don't. You know what? I shouldn't even say that I think. We know that they don't.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we wouldn't have the statistics that we do. 80% of real estate agents are gone in 2 years. 85% in 5 years. I mean, looking back at it, here's a real shocker for those of you that are in that business. Maybe 5% of you, 5% of every licensed real estate agent in the country right now has seen a buyer's market.
Yeah. I mean, I would fall into that bucket, unfortunately, Adam. I would fall into that bucket. I've never seen a buyer's market.
No, you did. You just saw it from the fringes.
True.
Yeah, in your licensed career, agreed. You haven't seen it, but you've seen it from the fringes because of the family history and so on and so forth.
True.
But yeah, we know that because of that sort of mentality, that the majority, the vast, disgusting majority, are treating it like a job instead of a career.
Yeah, I think you do have to take it seriously. I liked what you said about that because I know that I think in the real estate, I can't speak to mortgaging and your whole course load and how you go through the licensing process. But I will say to become a realtor, I don't think it's often conveyed in the culture of real estate agents how serious a thing it is to represent somebody as their fiduciary and actually take them through a contract. I don't think people understand what that really, I mean, you're practicing law.
You are.
I mean, you're
taking on a segment of contract law. And yeah,
exactly. Absolutely. And I don't think people take that seriously enough and understand what exactly it is that they're doing. They just think it's all pool parties, right? To sell a house. Like, I'm going to be really famous. I'm going to post it.
I'm going to hang out with my kids. I'm going to make a lot of money.
Yeah.
But here's the problem is that if not for all of this, the high failure rate, the lack of eyes open kind of knowledge going in, that it is a sales job, that you have to find buyers and sellers, that you've got to generate leads, so on and so forth, that this is a huge legal, contractual, fiduciary responsibility.
It's a big deal.
If they knew that going in, we would completely derail the real estate school's business models.
Yeah, I think you're probably right about that.
Yeah, now they'd only have the 20% that make it after 2 years. They would literally be cutting out 4/5 of their revenue if it was part of that equation, which is really where Jen and I put all of this together for years now, is that there is a significant inherent gap in what real estate agents think going into the very onset of the process. I'm going to go to real estate school. What they still think coming out of real estate school, hey, I've got my license. Now I can go hang out with my kids and, but I got news for all of you new agents. Your Aunt Esther is not going to sell a house every year. So you got to do more work. You got to treat it with more respect than just that running your little circle shit, because your circle is not going to produce the kind of volume that you want to have a successful career, not job, career in real estate.
Absolutely. And I think people don't think very clearly about what I guess I think people just see the numbers and they think, oh, great, I can, do whatever I want and make a big commission check every time I sell a house. But they don't think very deeply about what they as an individual bring of value to the marketplace. They don't think about, why should I sell Aunt Esther's house as opposed to some other person? And am I actually doing Aunt Esther a disservice if I'm selling her house and it's my first deal or second deal and I'm not very good at this? Am I actually losing money for my aunt when she could have gone with a more experienced agent who actually would have either gotten her a better price, would have negotiated better, whatever? People don't think very deeply about these things when they jump into it. I come across that all the time. Yeah.
And yes, I think the answer is yes. They are doing Aunt Esther a great disservice.
Yeah, and great for Aunt Esther. It's really kind of her, but I do think people need to think far more deeply. And if you're a real estate agent listening to this, and you're just getting the ball rolling, you're just starting out, I would think really deeply about what makes you valuable in the marketplace. What sets you apart? What background do you have? What do you have that would make you a better option for your client for this large transaction? I think that's an important thing that people don't consider.
Well, and I think there's another degree that you just touched on. It's not only a large transaction, it's likely the largest of that person's life. I don't care if we're talking about a first-time homebuyer picking up a condo in Aurora, Colorado, For those of you local, that reference will make sense. And again, it's not political, but it's Donald Trump buying a new office building, a new resort, whatever the case may be. It's still the biggest transaction of their life. And yeah, I think so many of us in all of the circumnavigating industries that encompass the buying and selling of homes, the real estate industry as a whole, as our colleague Kai would put it, I don't think we treat it with the respect it deserves.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
I have clients all the time saying, hey, this is going to be a stupid question. I'm like, wait a minute. Have you ever spent $500,000 on something before? No? Oh, okay. Then there really aren't any stupid questions. Let's treat that with the respect it deserves.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah. So, yeah, but I do agree. I think that there is a lot of that going on, but I still think it circles back and penetrates this issue of we're treating it like a job and not a career.
Yeah, it does circle that issue because it has to do with how proactive you are with your whole approach to your business. How proactive are you with and I touched on this a little bit about your education. For instance, I read the Wall Street Journal every day. I'm learning about the Fed. I'm listening to Jerome Powell. And some of you guys may not know what I'm talking about, but I'm listening to the Fed. I'm keeping an eye on interest rates. I'm looking at inventory. I'm looking at demographic shifts. I'm looking at new housing starts that builders are putting in. I'm looking at a ton of data all of the time. I'm consuming a ton of data so that I can give my clients a reasonable guess for their investment, because investing is just a bet on the future. And so my job is to collect as much information as I can and help my clients make an educated bet, a good bet on an investment. And I think people don't take that education aspect very seriously. They take their exam. They think they're done with education. That exam, it basically was just scratching the surface. I mean, if you think of it like an iceberg, I mean, it's not even the tip of the iceberg is your real estate licensing course material. There is so much more education that has to go on, that has to continue to go on if you're going to be successful. And I just don't think people consider that, or they don't value that, or they don't make time for it. But it goes back to your point, Adam, of people view it differently between a job and a career. I think that's a really good explanation.
Yeah. And you can tell which ones are which by a lot of these telltale traits.
Yeah.
Am I doing research? Am I reading a book a week? I am not reading a book a week. I got to tell you, Jacob, I am really, really impressed. I think Jen and I had talked to somebody, on this podcast years ago, and we had all set a goal to read a book a month. And I was like, yeah, book a month, I am rocking and rolling. a book a week is a lot. It is a lot. The gross volume of knowledge that you're soaking up day to day is
it's pretty wide,
stuff.
too. It's not like I'm reading 50 books about real estate. That would be impossible. I just don't know how anybody could ever
boring.
do that. Yeah. Oh, my gosh. There's no way. Yeah, there's no way. Like the book I just finished yesterday was called Beyond... Is it Beyond, meaning 12 More Rules for Life by Jordan Peterson? I don't know if you've heard of him. He's kind of an intellectual out of Canada who's kind of providing this these really interesting rules for life from a psychological health perspective. So it's really interesting. Anyway, I read pretty widely. I don't think you necessarily need to focus on your niche. I think you should read widely.
Yeah, agreed. And if I were reading 50 books on real estate a year, you'd find me in the bathtub with a razor blade or a toaster.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah, not a chance.
Yeah.
But while we're on the subject, give us a few highlights. What are some of the greatest reads you've had?
Let's see. I'll just do ones from this year because that's a huge question.
All right.
Hey, there's a great book out there by Ray Dalio, if you've heard of him. He's a hedge fund manager. His book is called Principles, and it's about how to apply, instead of having rules on how you do your business or how you operate in the world, hey, if this happens, then this happens. If this happens, then this happens. You actually have principles. It's more of guiding principles. You don't necessarily know exactly what your response is going to be for every situation, but you have a principle for how to deal with a certain kind of problem. It's really, really great. I found that book to be excellent. It was kind of long, but it was good.
Okay.
Another good book. Let's see. This is a good one about Stoicism, if you're familiar with that philosophy. It's called The Obstacle is the Way by Ryan Holiday. That was a really good one, talking about how you go to the pain. Let's say you're a real estate agent, you're just getting started and you really hate cold calling. Let's say you just hate it. My suggestion based on this book would be now you're going to go cold call, because that's the pain in your life. You have to go and pursue the thing that is most uncomfortable or most inconvenient for you. And that's actually where you will find success is through overcoming the obstacles that are right in front of you. So anyway, that was a good one.
That is a good one. Okay. We've got a similar philosophy through our program, although less cordial. We like to see our clients fuck up faster.
Hey, that's pretty good.
Make the mistakes. Go through the pain as soon as you can, because you'll figure out how to shore it up, how to fix it, and then move on.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
I completely agree with that, because I think a lot of new agents too are so afraid of making mistakes that they also just don't move fast enough to start doing deals. They're so afraid of making mistakes on their contract. And I've made mistakes. Let's be clear here. Like, I've made, 4-figure mistakes in my real estate career. Thankfully, no 5-figure, keep the fingers crossed. But I've made 4-figure mistakes in my career, and you make it right with the client. You fix your fuck up, and you just move forward. But people don't understand. Like, they just like wallow in the mistake, or they just make everything perfect, and they just don't move fast enough to build a successful snowball.
Yeah. All right, give us the third one.
Man, you're asking me a tough question. Let's see. Oh, this is a great one. I've got a good one. Willpower doesn't work. That was a really good one.
It is a really good one. I have. It is a really good one.
That was a good one. Yeah.
That I would certainly recommend to everybody. Well, pretty much everybody.
Yes.
There are aspects of my personal life, certainly more in my professional life, but there are aspects of my personal life where there's a lot of applicable content there. Yeah.
Absolutely.
No question.
As a result of that one, I started my mastermind group as a result of that, of other people who are like-minded trying to grow their real estate businesses, et cetera. And that mastermind has been super fruitful, because there's just this constant challenging, this habit. I have to meet every week, and we have a commitment every week, and I'm making that commitment. And I have all these other people holding me to it, because I know if I leave it to myself and my own will, I'm not going to get it done. And it's been great. I can't wait to see how much that transforms my life over the next 15 years.
That will be a big deal. All right. Yes, Jen, I know that we are running well over. It's amazing how fast a half hour goes by when we're really getting into some good conversation. But, Jen, we'd love to do this again with you. We'd love to have a sequel, as it were, Jacob Part 2. So maybe we can get that on the books. And yeah, I know that it's very difficult to carve out this kind of time to do this, particularly on a Monday morning. So thank you very much for joining us.
No, yeah. Thank you for having me. I'm just sitting at an inspection right now, so I figured I'd kill 2 birds with 1 stone.
Oh, that's fantastic. Great. That is some nice multitasking right there. All right, Jen, you want to take us home?
All right, guys, so if you are watching the video, our text code is scrolling along the bottom. If you're listening, you can text TIPS to 63566 to find out all about Just the Tips coaching. You can get a copy of Adam's book, speaking of books, Just the Tips. You can get all of our latest video content. You can book a free hour of coaching with us. And my favorite part right now, you can grab a ticket to the Mile High Mastermind. Again, speaking of masterminds, it is our 5th annual mastermind this September 24th, 25th at the University of Denver. We have some amazing workshop-centered content lined up for everybody, so you can grab your tickets for that. Again, text TIPS to 63566.
Well, thanks, Jen. And Jacob, thank you again. This has been a lot of fun for us.
Awesome. Thanks, Adam.
Yeah, no sweat. And for the rest of you, thanks for joining us. And we do this live every Monday at 10:30 Mountain Time. And you can, of course, get all of the information that Jen referred to, including where to find our podcast after the fact, by texting TIPS to 63566. And we will see you guys next time.